don't want to die with a dick on my face.
Tuch Klick.
Flick it open, it's a standard blade. Nothing too crazy, but then you discover what's hidden under cover. A patented hidden scale release, automatic, surprising you, shocking you, and causing a panic. Go ahead, touch the blade, watch the blood run the lathe. Touch the scale and reveal the surprise underneath. Tuch Knives has another surprise. The father and son duo, creating world-class autos, is offering this as an affordable project, completed by best tech, custom design, and newly refined at a low production price. Sure, it's as small as a midget's pecker, but that just means for easy it might be better. So small and slender, easy to carry and hide in your pocket, and a new spring so strong it fires like a rocket. Rocket! Oh, and it touch the blade, watch the blood run the lathe. Touch a scale and reveal the surprise underneath. Tuch Knives has another surprise. The father and son duo, creating world-class autos, is offering this as an affordable project, completed by best tech, custom design, and newly refined at a low production price.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me as always. My name is Jim, and today I'd like to introduce you to Tuch Knives. Now, surprisingly, this is the very first time I've had the opportunity to review a Tuch knife on my channel, even though I have known the father and son duo of Bill and Eric Tuch for a little over a decade now. This one is rather interesting. This is the second run of this popular little dual action automatic, now available for the first time in production as a full titanium frame lock. It's been upgraded from the micarta frames and M390 to titanium and MagnaCut. And it's easy to see that this father and son duo are used to strictly making ultra high-end collectible knives because of this teeny tiny size. It definitely doesn't fit in with the standard EDC crowd or the tactical knife crowd, the two biggest segments arguably in the community today. This was clearly designed for the type of person that already has it all. They already have their large folders, they already have their small folders, and they've got their perfect little in-between EDC folders. This one seems to be honestly made to be a special piece in that type of person's collection that they carry just for those smallest tasks and to show off as a unique novelty item. Because the smaller you make something, particularly with any sort of mechanism inside, the harder it is and the more expensive it's going to be as a result. So this feels special in ways that most other knives just don't. Now, as you can see, there are a multitude of ways that you can open this knife. Number one, you could slow roll it if you want to be gentle on the knife. And with a knife that's of this size and feeling as, I don't know, artsy, custom, and beautiful as it is, you may prefer to do that. Or you can flick it open with your thumb, can reverse flick it with your middle finger, or you use the hidden scale release automatic and it deploys in that way. Now, since it's pivoting basically here in the middle, the scale, the front scale here, the presentation side scale, is going in this direction. So you're either going to push this way in the bolster area, you can see it pivoting there, or you're pushing that way, you're pushing that way on the rear. One of the things I like about this is one of the easiest to close with one hand that I've ever had. I've had a few different dual action automatics. Some were hidden scale release, some were bolster release. And in all those cases, when you got down to the point where you felt that back spring starting to engage, you had a lot of hard work to get that closed. And a lot of times they would engage a lot earlier, like somewhere around here, where you'd feel safer using a second hand to do it. Now, what the Tuches have done here is they have a patented design in the way that this automatic operates. But before we get to all that, let's get into the specs, because that's going to be important for a lot of people to know right away. Your overall length is 6.4 inches with a blade length of only 2.7 inches. So as I mentioned, it is a very teeny tiny knife. The blade steel, as mentioned earlier, is going to be in MagnaCut, and it's done in a belt satin. And your frames are a nice glass bead blasted stonewashed titanium, with the pocket clip being done in a really, really nicely done 3D milled titanium, nicely sculpted, and it goes with the flow of the knife very, very well. You could tell very easily that this pocket clip was not an afterthought. It was part of the design of the knife from the beginning. All the hardware on this is going to be stainless steel, and it is a frame lock. So you're not disengaging that scale to close it. You do have to operate it like a standard frame lock to close and lock it. Now, as I mentioned, the scale release design on this is a patented design, as denoted here on the packaging. And it's just different enough that it honestly gives you a better experience as you carry and use it. They're also using the exact same spring and spring material that they use on their high dollar customs. Now, Bill has been doing this for, I think, somewhere around 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. And his son, Eric, who he has brought into the business, and they are partners in design, in the execution, and in the business. And he's been doing this for roughly 10 years or so. So you've got guys here that are making one-of-a-kind, very, very, very high-end customs that have decided, thankfully, to turn over one of their designs into a more affordable production knife. Now, the unique sear mechanism is engaging the blade. Let me see if I can kind of focus in here just a little bit. Right behind the heel. So there's a little sear in here that's pivoting. And instead of having, if you've ever taken apart any dual action automatics that you've owned, there's usually a tab that will engage the backside of the blade. That's not happening here. What you would normally feel is you would feel this compressing the spring. Then right about here, as it comes into play, you'd feel a clunk as everything drops into place. You don't feel that here because the sear, it's a teeny tiny little sear that's on a pivot, and it's just tilting to lock into place. So you're not feeling that clunk from within the frame of the knife that you normally would. And I thought that was really interesting. The first time I closed this, I was kind of waiting, and I didn't feel that. I heard the click, but I didn't feel anything. And honestly, I was kind of afraid to let it go. And then I found out the way that they had actually manufactured that. And that's pretty damn cool. Like I said, I've owned a few different scale release, dual actions, some bolster release. I think I even had one that was a pocket clip. And they all feel pretty much the same. This one feels just a little bit different in its operation. And I dig that. So you don't feel that sear reset when it pivots into place. because it's not sliding and dropping in from the pressure that you're applying on the blade. You simply close it and it's locked in like magic. And it is locking that blade in place, holding it in place and keeping it from opening. Now, here's another interesting thing, and I don't know if we can quite see it. Okay, so you see it, that little screw back there? That is the set screw for that spring. That spring is what's kicking the blade out when it's in automatic mode. You can remove this spring if you're going to be traveling somewhere where the discovery of a spring in your knife could send you off to be Diddy's roommate. You can remove that set screw, and I mean, you have to take the knife apart, but you remove that set screw, and then you can just simply slide that spring right out. It drops in very, very simply. You can take it out, you can drop it back in. It's not a difficult procedure at all. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to tackle most of the dual action autos that are out there. I don't think I'd really want to go messing around trying to take the springs out. That's just me. Maybe I'm overly paranoid. Now, one of the cool things that you'll see repeated throughout the packaging and also right here is the Tuch Knives logo. That's Bill. And that's Eric when he was about, I don't know, he's a toddler, so I'd say probably 2-3 years old. That's a cute picture. And they took that picture and made it into their maker's mark. I really dig that. I think that is super, super cool. As someone that does his best to be close with his sons, I definitely feel that. And I like seeing that in this knife. It's very, very cool. Now, is this my type of knife? I'm going to be honest with you, it's really not. I love their work. They make some of the most amazing automatic knives that have ever been on the market. Bill is at that level where, it's funny, the first time I ever met him, I'll take you back a little ways with a story here. First time I ever met him was before I was in the Knife Makers Guild, but I was at the Knife Makers Guild show, which was in, oh geez, where was it? Kansas City, back then. And at the time, Bill and I both smoked. So we both were headed out to outside the building to have a cigarette at the same time, and we were just kind of talking and introducing ourselves and that kind of good stuff. And we got to know each other over the course of that weekend. We ended up hanging out quite a lot and talking quite a bit. And he says, listen, he goes, you review a lot of knives, you're hands-on with a lot of different knives and speak to a lot of different knife makers and speak to a lot of people in the community, in the collectors community. He goes, how often do you see a knife maker that's really good at what they do, but collectors don't really know their name? I'm like, well, you know, it's certainly happened. You know, there's certainly super talented makers that are out there that the broad general collecting community doesn't know about. He says, that's something I'm kind of struggling with because of the type of collectors that buy my knives. He goes to all the major shows. I'm talking, he flies around the world. And he will set up at the Paris show. I think there's a show in Italy that he goes to. And he has an incredible international following. And the type of collector that has typically purchased his knives or ordered his knives as customs would buy his knives, receive them, they would go into their collection, and that knife and that collection would die with the owner. So let's say it was this knife in particular, and I had sought him out and said, hey, I really want you to build me this knife. I'm a huge fan. I'll pay any amount of money. I'll wait any length of time. I just have to have one of your knives, because that's the level that Bill Tuch is at. And then I receive it, It goes into my collection. I'm not an internet person. I'm not in different collecting groups. I'm a private collector. And I may be the same way about my cars. I may have a fleet of Ferraris that I don't brag about online. I may be an art collector that doesn't share my passion online. And this is just another one of the things that I, as a fancy lad, like to collect. So I pass away, and my collection goes wherever it goes, whether it's to my heirs or it's my collection is auctioned off, whatever it is. This knife died with me. It didn't get sold or traded into the collector's community as I was buying, selling, and trading for other knives. Because that level of collector, listen, I am completely fine with admitting, yes, I have owned, probably in the past 10 years, I can guarantee I've owned at least $1 million worth of knives. I couldn't afford $1 million worth of knives. I have no problem admitting that I bought, sold, and traded to get into the knives that I have owned. The level of collector that has typically purchased a Tuch knife doesn't have to do that. They buy what they want, and these luxuries are easily affordable to them. These are people that own helicopters, for God's sake, and private jets and stuff like that. These are people that pull up to Blade Show Atlanta and sit in their Rolls Royce and have their assistant running, and I do mean literally running from table to table to table to table to certain key makers with handfuls of cash to pick up knives that they had previously arranged and to be involved in various lotteries. And that assistant will then come back, present the knives to that collector, and they leave and they go back to the airport. And that man never set foot in Blade Show Atlanta. But he got a bigger haul than anybody that you know. And these whales do exist. So I didn't even realize that there was that type of collector out there until I met Bill. And then I wondered, yeah, this is a guy that I don't know. How realistic is his story? Are these fables? And I asked a few of my friends. I asked Jerry Moen. I asked Todd Begg. We were talking about these things. And they're like, oh, no, there's absolutely collectors like that. And because there's collectors in every walk of life. Again, whether it be cars or art or homes, real estate, that sort of thing. And that's what they do. They don't barter, they don't trade, they don't do anything else. They buy what they want, they keep it, and it stays with them, and it never gets back out into circulation. Now, the wonderful thing is, that was a long time ago I had that discussion with Bill. And since then, he has created some, even of his customs, that were a little bit more accessible price-wise to the, I don't want to say the average collector, but still a high-end collector, but people in our community that we know. And a few have been bought and sold and traded, and people have picked up on the fact that not only are the knives built to perfection, the fit and finish exemplary, and the automatic mechanisms inside damn near bulletproof, but that these guys are super creative and super talented and really, really good knife makers. And they have further capitalized on that by partnering with Best Tech to create now the second run of this model as a production knife. And I'm going to tell you right now, I seriously hope that they do more in the future, more models. Because like I said, this particular style isn't really me. It's a little more gentlemanly than I am. I know, shocker. And it's a little smaller than I like. If this was a 3 1/4 inch blade, ooh, buddy. but I've been carrying this for a couple of weeks and I really have enjoyed it. Now, it hasn't gotten the exclusive pocket time that I feel it deserves for a typical review, because as most of you know, in the past couple of weeks, I released one of my new models as well. So of course I've been carrying my own knife. But anytime one of my knives isn't in my pocket, this has been, because I feel I need to carry, feel how it carries in the pocket, feel how the pocket clips work with my various different pockets, and see how it cuts, see how it carries, see how it performs on a daily basis before I give a review on it. And I've enjoyed this, but there have definitely been times that I wish that it was just a little bit bigger. Now, even though it's a smaller knife, because of the thick titanium slabs being used, it feels a lot more substantial than it probably should. It feels tough. It doesn't feel weak. It doesn't feel delicate. So I want you to get that out of your head right now. If you're looking at this going, it looks kind of delicate, I bet it feels kind of delicate. No, it does not feel delicate at all. Now, sure, when you get down to this distal taper and you get down to where the tip is ground on this blade, yeah, it gets precariously thin at the cutting edge, but not up here at the tip. The spine, where the spine meets the tip, is still nice and reinforced and fairly thick. So I wouldn't call this delicate. But there have been times when I've carried it that I wish that I had a slightly larger knife on me at the time for whatever it was that I was cutting. But that's it. And that's really not a knock on this knife. That's, if you walked out of the house today carrying a small Sebenza, you might feel the same way. Oh, geez, I should have carried my large Sebenza, or I should have carried a Strider, or I should have carried a Hinder, or I should have carried this or this or this or that with a slightly larger blade. A small Sebenza isn't too tiny for most things, but there are some things where you slide it out and go, I wish I had a little bit more blade, wish I had a little bit more to work with here. It's just the size of it. And you know the size before you're buying it, so you've already made that decision. So anyway, I will end the weird rant that I'm on there that really has no ending. I want to thank you guys as always for watching. If you want to pick one of these up, remember these are made by Bestech. They are offered directly through the Tuch Knives website. And if you have any questions about the development of this knife, about why the mechanism inside is patented, then put your questions down below, because I'm pretty sure Eric Tuch himself will be hovering over the comments section in case anybody has any questions. That honestly, he told me everything. And he was really detailed about it. But I'm kind of slow, and some of it went over my head. So I don't want to come out here and try and act like I know it all and relay all the information to you and then misspeak and then you have improper information. I try not to be like that. What a cool knife. It does feel really satisfying to snap that open. It sounds good too. There's nothing quite like the sound of a nice switchblade. Well done, guys. Congratulations. I'm happy for your success. And I'm excited for those of you that are looking at buying one of these. If you get one, come back here and let me know your thoughts. Tell me what you think of the knife. We'd all love to hear it.